This is the Stress-Free Wedding Planning Podcast with Sal and Sam, a new podcast for engaged couples concerned about wedding planning and family expectations but want a stress-free, fun, and unforgettable wedding.
I'm Sam from Atmosphere Productions Disc Jockey Service. Experience the difference of a stress-free wedding with our expert knowledge, customer service, and the difference in quality.
Hi, I'm Sal from After Hours Events of New England, the leader in making your wedding stress-free.
Welcome to the Stress-Free Wedding Planning Podcast.
Imagine your guests standing throughout your entire 30-minute ceremony. The most common wedding mistake is the officiant not asking the guest to be seated. Second is the officiant photobombing that first kiss.
What are other common wedding ceremony mistakes? Whether your ceremony is at a church, backyard, synagogue, or on-site at the venue, by the time this edition is over, you'll know and learn how to avoid simple wedding ceremony mistakes.
With over 80 years of combined wedding experience and insider information, this is Stress-Free Wedding Planning with your hosts, Sal and Sam, a new podcast for engaged couples who are stressed about wedding planning and family expectations, but want to have a fun wedding. Listen now for revealing wedding insider secrets, tips, and strategy or lesson that you'll be able to implement for a stress-free wedding. Information that you just can't miss and may just change your life. Take the journey with us from worry and concern to a stress-free and unforgettable wedding day. The Stress-Free Wedding Planning Podcast with Sal and Sam.
Hi, I'm Sal of After Hours Events of New England, the leader in making your wedding stress-free.
Hi, I'm Sam from Atmosphere Productions Disc Jockey Service. Experience the difference of a stress-free wedding with our expert knowledge and the difference in quality. Learn more about our journey to help you with stress-free wedding planning in the trailer or pilot of this podcast.
In today's edition, Common Wedding Ceremony Mistakes. I'm personally a wedding officiant, and I've been doing it since 2008, so I'm going to key in on a bunch of things here through this whole podcast. Some mistakes that I've seen other officiants make, and just maybe other professionals in general. But first, if you have a question or concern, go now to Facebook and join us on the stress-free wedding planning community and ask away.
Wedding ceremony mistakes are easy to make, so be sure you keep these in mind when prepping for your day. Back in the day, Sal, I remember wedding ceremonies didn't vary very much. They were all basically the same, and rarely did the DJ have to set up much equipment for a ceremony. But nowadays, you have the venue giving us the opportunity to do the ceremony on site, where now we can set up microphones, we can set up musicians, we can set up recorded music. There's a lot more variety that you can have for a ceremony. So that, of course, leads to more mistakes happening.
Yes, absolutely. That's very true. You know, there's things you want to do. One is rehearsing your ceremony.
Yep.
That's very important. Usually something this is done 2 days, sometimes 3 days before the ceremony itself.
Right.
This is learning how to walk down the aisle, which is very important, believe it or not. That's the main thing. I know even when I'm conducting a ceremony rehearsal, we just want to make sure everyone knows where they're going to stand or where they're going to be seated and what they need to do when it comes time.
Most officiants today, they are totally on board with couples doing their own thing. You don't necessarily have to do it as if you were in a church or a synagogue. I know I've done several ceremonies where it's been 2 minutes. and that includes the walk down the aisle.
Very quick, very quick. One of the things that we're seeing a big trend with is people having their friends or a family member doing these things. And that can be really great, or it could be really bad.
Well, explain that then. Explain how people can have their friends do a ceremony.
Okay, so you could actually get ordained online. You're free to do weddings. It's very simple. You type in your name and a little bit more information, and you are ordained.
And it's legal.
And it's legal now. So at one time it was not. Mm-hmm. So it is legal, and that allows them to sign a marriage certificate, or a marriage license, I should say. Yeah, so you could have them do the wedding for you. Some people like that little personal touch of that person knowing them well. And again, sometimes it's great because there's people who prepare and they know the couple so well. So there's these jokes that the family know. It just can be really nice and lighthearted.
But I'm waiting for the but now.
But then there's the big but. Not knowing the protocol for a wedding. I've actually have visualized a wedding where the whole legal part was not done.
Was missing
in the ceremony. So being the nice guy that I am, once the ceremony was over, I pulled that officiant over and I go, you did not do a legal ceremony right now. There is certain things that need to be done. They had to, this is like a contract. They have to agree that they're here, and you didn't do any of that. So we took it to the side and had them do it in front of the best man and maid of honor. So there's multiple witnesses to it, and we got it all done. But this is the problem. When you have people who don't do this as a norm, things can go wrong like that. I've had these people try to hand the license after they sign it back to the couple. That is absolutely illegal. The couple cannot touch that once it's been given to the officiant. The officiant has to get it back to the town hall. That's very important. And I've had times where the officiant didn't even have the license before the ceremony took place. You can't do that. So these are things that are very important. You have to make sure that they have the license in their possession and they cannot give it back to you. They have to get it back to town hall.
And that's why it's so important to have a rehearsal.
Yes.
So that you get all these things out of the way.
That's the beauty. Yeah, you bring the license to the rehearsal, hand it to them. They have possession now. They don't even have to have it with them the day of the wedding. They just have to have possession of it.
Something else that's important is the rings. Explain to us why it's important to prepare those rings ahead of time.
How many times you've been to a ceremony and the officiant looks over to the best man or maid of honor and say, may I have the rings? And I don't have those.
And you see him running off to the venue or to his car.
So I know personally, sometimes, people don't have that rehearsal, or they do the rehearsal without me. But I always talk to everyone who's the main players. It's like, okay, who's going to be in control of the rings? Please introduce me to them. I need to make sure they have the rings and let them know what they're going to do when I ask for them. The rings are such an important piece, and you need to make sure they are there.
That's such a simple little tip that is so often mistaken.
Totally overlooked.
And overlooked. That's what I'm looking for. So that an error happens at the ceremony. Good point.
They need to get bubblegum wrappers to use as rings for that moment.
The next one that we're going to discuss is the microphone check, because it's so important to have the officiant there when you're setting up the sound equipment, so that a microphone check can be done so that the officiant can be heard properly. That's a key element, isn't it?
It is. When you're using microphones, sensitivity has to be changed sometimes because that person might be a softer speaker.
They're always softer speakers.
Or they're just too strong for the microphone, and you need to take the sensitivity down because you don't want the feedback. So, and you want to make sure it's working. If you're using wireless, you want to make sure it's a good frequency that's working in that area that's not going to conflict. I use lavalier microphones. I give one to the officiant, and I also give one to the groom.
So he pins it onto his lapel.
I pin it onto his lapel. I try to hide it in his flower type of thing. And what happens is with the officiant, they have a very specific lavalier. It's more of a directional, so it's direct to them, where the one I'm giving to the groom is omnidirectional. It's going to pick up him and the person in front of him. So all we need is to make sure his lovely bride is hand-holding distance away from him. So when it's time for her to talk, she's going to be picked up by that mic. So that's something I normally test to see, we get a good idea. We've talked to the groom. We hear his voice. We know, what to pretty much expect and put it to the right position so it sounds good at the
And the flip side to that is that there are some couples that don't want the microphones on them, and the officiant wants a microphone on a stand so he can hold his book. That's another reason why you have a rehearsal as well, so you can position those so that the officiant can do the little dance of either handing the microphone to the couple or moving it out of the way. These things are explained when you do the mic check so that there aren't those missteps actually during the ceremony. Some DJs that don't use mic stands. Some DJs that only use the lavalier and the clip-on microphones. Whatever it is, you have to find out from your entertainer or whoever's doing the sound for your ceremony what they're going to use. And that's why you have a rehearsal, and that's why you have a sound check about 30 minutes before the actual ceremony or earlier.
Yes, very important. That you nailed that one, doing it real early before the ceremony.
Yep.
How many times have we seen in another room someone running in last second and just flipping on the system and like, okay, this will work. No, it won't. Most likely not. It's not going to be perfect. And you want to make sure your entertainment is scheduled to be there early and playing music early too, because when you have everything on location, guests tend to come extra early.
Yeah, it's very important. Let me reiterate what Sal said. Make sure when you hire the person who's doing your ceremony that you instruct them that they need to be fully set up 30 minutes, minimum 30 minutes prior to you walking down the aisle. Because what you don't want is your guests arriving and the entertainer is doing a sound check or the musician is testing their instruments. These things should not happen. Your guests should walk in with an atmosphere of that it's a ceremony. You know, when you're at the church or a synagogue, you typically don't walk in and see the minister testing his microphone. Those sort of things don't happen. So why do you think it should happen when you're having an on-site ceremony at a venue? No, it shouldn't. These things should all be done and set up beforehand.
These are details you have to think of, and if you hire a true professional, they will take that and make that stress-free for you.
Yeah. The big thing that we mentioned at the top of the show is having the guests be seated. Why is it the most often forgotten thing by most officiants?
I don't get it, and when I have someone else who's officiating, one of the things I always say to them, please, as soon as you have our couple set, let it be the first thing you say, everyone please be seated. Unless there's a prayer and they have to be standing, that's great. But once that prayer is over, please let them be seated. And I try to explain why. Well, we have professional photographers. We have professional videographers. They're all in the back of the room.
Yep.
And you're blocking all their shots. So it's very important that everyone is seated. And plus, you want everyone to be comfortable.
Your taller guests are going to block your shorter guests. So everybody should be seated so that everybody can be comfortable and see the entire ceremony.
Comfort is everything. Comfort is everything.
When we come back, we're going to discuss some more common wedding ceremony mistakes.
You're listening to the Stress-Free Wedding Planning Podcast.
Wedding Tip Wednesday is brought to you by Emerge Cosmetics. Are you ready to emerge? A new line of luxurious lipsticks and lip glosses created with the intention of empowerment and coming into who you truly are. Strong, beautiful, and confident. Use coupon code EBI10 at shopemergecosmetics.com for an instant 10% discount. That's coupon code EBI10 for 10% discount at shopemergecosmetics.com. Emerge as the true you.
On this Wedding Tip Wednesday, be clear, speak plainly and directly with your wedding party about your expectations. Clarify and confirm all meeting times.
That is so correct, Sal. First, you don't want any negative Nellies on your wedding party, but also you want to make sure that if you're going to have the meeting somewhere, everybody's on the same page. The best man doesn't have to think it's somewhere else or a different time. Make sure that everybody communicates. By doing this, speaking to those people and clarifying everything is important.
Totally agree with you there, Sam. This is something you just have to be very clear about because everyone has ADD nowadays. They're not fully paying attention. Yep. So sometimes not just telling them, texting it too so they could go back and read it.
And an email.
An email too, yes. I find the younger ones are more into the text messaging nowadays than they are emails. But just get it down where people can view it.
And you might also have to set up a group in Facebook or in Instagram where all the communications go through one location, or set up a text group so that you text it to everybody, whatever it takes to make sure that you clarify and confirm with everybody.
No individual stuff. Something will always go wrong. That's your Wedding Tip Wednesday.
Wedding Tip Wednesday is available on the Stress-Free Wedding Planning Facebook group page every Wednesday. Join the group for free.
Don't know what to do for your first dance? Is your future spouse having trouble picking a song to dance with their parent? Worry no more. I have the answer. Go to afterhoursevents.com/contact guest. That is CONTACTGUEST. And you'll be able to listen to hours of music to help you select the right songs for your upcoming wedding. Again, go to afterhoursevents.com/contact guest.
Do you want access to a stress-free wedding planning process? Then go to our website, allthews.atmosphere-productions.com, and get my free report. 8 questions you must ask a wedding professional before booking them. Get it today. That's allthews.atmosphere-productions.com. Look for the free report and learn to shop like a pro from a pro and go from concern and worry to stress-free wedding planning.
Welcome back to the Stress-Free Wedding Planning Podcast with Sal and Sam.
We were just discussing about rehearsing the ceremony at least once prior to the ceremony, not preparing the rings ahead of time, not doing a mic check, and not encouraging guests to find their seats.
Now we're on to not asking the audience to turn off their cell phones.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
There's a reason why we have cell-free ceremonies, right?
Yeah, I'll plug this huge right now. If I officiate or not officiate, almost 100% of my weddings last year that had ceremonies were unplugged. And one of the reasons was because I pushed it so hard. Yes. I explained to them why it's such a good idea.
Yep.
Look, you have guests who are just oblivious to their surroundings.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the problems has been this. They have their iPhone, which they think takes the best picture in the world, and they'll jump in the middle of the aisle right in front of the photographer while taking the ultimate shot and messing it up. Yep. Or they're holding their phone in such a way that the people behind them that do want to see it through their own eyes have a phone in front of them. So it's in the way. It's very distracting. And come on, let's be clear. When people are looking through a phone, they are not really paying attention to what's really happening. So let them be part of the here and now. See everything through their beautiful eyes. Put the phones down. Don't let the distractions happen. Let the professionals do their jobs, taking the best pictures, taking the best video, and not have to worry about anything. And when you're in the present, you enjoy it so much more.
An unplugged ceremony, highly recommended. Not focusing the ceremony on the couple. Now, this is where the officiant goes off on a tangent and is talking about everything but.
Could this be possible? Does this really happen?
Like it's a lecture. It shouldn't be, should it?
I have one officiant. He does it every single time. He does a history of the town as if he lives in that town, even though I know he doesn't. And then he tries to talk about the facility a little to kind of score some points with them.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's just, dude, you're 10 minutes of rambling on.
That's not good.
To the couple. And the look on the couple's face when they realize what just happened is because they did not expect it.
Didn't expect it.
Did not expect it.
Another reason for having a rehearsal. So you skip that.
You know what's going on, yeah.
The guests should always feel as though they've learned about the couple through their ceremony. The officiant should wholeheartedly believe in the commitment that he's talking about, and the couple should also too. And the guests should feel that in the ceremony language, not a lecture.
So this has been tough too. I like to have the couple tell me their love story.
Yes, absolutely.
And just give me some tidbits that I could share that maybe most of their guests don't know.
Mm-hmm. But even if they do know it, it's nice to say it during the ceremony.
Exactly. I've had some awesome stories.
Yeah.
Some of these stories make, while you're reading it, like, ooh, the power that's going through you, just like, this is so cool, this is so fun.
Like the universe has got these two together for this one particular moment.
This is perfect. Yes. This is perfect. Yep. And couples, please, take a moment.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be this long paragraph, but just give something that you could give your officiant to say to this audience.
Yeah, from the heart.
Oh, definitely from the heart.
Another common wedding ceremony mistake is the couple not looking at each other.
This happens a number of times. I always talk to my couples and say, look, This is about the two of you. You are in the moment. I want you to get lost into each other. So please look at each other, hold hands through the whole ceremony.
Yes.
And I have times where, I'll have the couple kind of turn and looking at me, and I was like,
look at each other.
And, and I'll make jokes sometimes, and like, everyone, she's amazed right now that Santa is actually doing her wedding. So, because the whole long white beard thing. And, they laugh a little, and then they like, okay, let's pay attention to each other.
And another thing it does, it creates the intimacy of the moment, and it'll also block out those nervous feelings that you might have, because you're now focused on the one you love and the one that you're there for, instead of looking around, looking at the officiant and being distracted and forgetting to say, I do.
Yeah, get lost into each other.
Yep.
And, this is kind of off subject. I tell people when they have their first dance, get lost in each other's eyes. Everyone
Forget
else becomes
everybody else.
invisible. It's just a blur.
It's the same for the ceremony.
Exactly. It's exactly the same.
Yep. We've got one more final common wedding ceremony mistake, and it's not moving out of the way for the first married kiss. What do we mean by this? Well, there is usually a shot that the photographer takes, and he's down the middle of the aisle. You say, I do, you kiss each other, and photobombing that first kiss is the officiant in the background.
The floating head between the two of them, yes.
Exactly. And afterwards, the couple's asking, can you Photoshop this officiant's head out of the way? Officiants need to realize, and a lot of them do, I will admit this, that I see a lot of officiants now either grab the mic stand or they just move out of the way when they see this. So it's incumbent on the couple to say, hey, we want our first kiss to be so important that it's going to be memorialized with a photograph when it's done. Because we can't do it again unless it's staged. So after you've pronounced, you may kiss the bride or you may kiss each other, walk out of the way.
Get out of the way.
As simple as that.
So what I try to explain to newbies, because I always go over this type of thing, this is such an important photo.
It is.
And it's really important that you do get out of the way. But the thing is, you can't say you may now kiss and then walk away. You actually have to be in the motion of moving out of the way when you say it. Because it's almost instantaneous, because they're ready for it. They want to do that kiss.
Yep.
So you really need to be out of the way. But there's actually 2 times when officiant should be out of the way.
And they are?
One is for the kiss, of course.
Yeah, the first kiss.
And then once you prepare the couple to look forward towards their guest and the flowers are taken and are about to be introduced to go back up the aisle,
yes.
Get out of the way, because, again, you're that floating head between their necks that the photographer's getting. So by moving out of the way and then introducing them, it's a nice, clean shot.
These are the common mistakes that are made by officiants at wedding ceremonies.
You're listening to the Stress Free Wedding Planning Podcast.
So there you have it. We just shared with you exactly how to avoid common wedding ceremony mistakes. You also learned certain strategies to manage your stress and anxiety about your wedding day.
Now, as you spend the next week planning your wedding, if you want me, Sal, and our community of stress-free engaged couples and wedding experts to answer any wedding-related questions,
join us over in the Stress Free Wedding Planning Facebook group. Once you're in, go ahead and share your concerns and worries, and we'll let you know if you're on the right track or if there's something you should be working on. The link to join us is in the show notes of this edition, or go to Facebook and search the Stress Free Wedding Planning community.
Thank you for listening to this edition. If you've enjoyed what you've just heard, leave a review and share with a friend or someone who would benefit from this information. Until next time, then, it's TTFN. Ta-ta for now.
Remember, a new edition is released every Wednesday. We'll catch you then. Ciao.
The Stress Free Wedding Planning Podcast is produced and copyrighted by Atmosphere Productions in association with After Hours Events of New England.